And Top Story, as always, is brought to you by Vodafone. Further together and blessed together. And tonight, as the New Patriotic Party primaries draws nearer, a recent survey conducted by the Global Info Analytics is revealing Vice President Dr. Bawumia as the front runner in the presidential race. However, Member of Parliament Kennedy Japan has shown significant gains in this regard. The survey conducted with 4,311 New Patriotic Party delegates from all 275 constituencies between October 2nd and 11 shows Dr. Bawumia leading with 43.5% of the support. Now, in a surprising twist to the events, the outspoken MP has managed to rally substantial support, securing some 23.5% of delegates backing in the last few months, while Dr. Bawumia remains the candidate to beat the rising popularity of Kennedy Japan. There are suggestions that the race may be more closely contested than initially anticipated. The survey also reveals that 18.3% of delegates remain undecided, indicating that the final outcome may hinge on a fierce campaign effort. So, who's leading? Let's find out from Isaac Afieje, who is a data analyst with the Joy News team, monitoring closely this latest report that we're getting from Global Info Analytics. Kofi, let's talk about the individuals going into the race, first of all.
Right, Blazer. So the delegates were asked a very simple question. Who will you vote for in the November 4th, Congress or primaries? And Dr. Bawumia is leading with 43.5%, followed by Kennedy Japan, 23.5%, Adainimo, number 3, 0.4%, Dr. Owusu Efriyakoto, 0.3%. Now, you said it right. Significant portion of these delegates who participated in this poll remain undecided. Some also decided not to disclose which camp they belong to. If you combine the non-disclosed to the undecided population, we are talking about more than 32%, Blizzard.
In the event of a runoff, who's likely, looking at the figures, to cross the 50% plus one as required?
Well, per the poll, even in the runoff, Dr. Bawumia fails to get that 50% plus one vote. He still gets 43%. In fact, in a runoff, he drops by 0.5 percentage point. Kennedy Japan maintains or also drops by 0.3% to 25%. Dr. Bawumia, 43%. We still have that 32.4% of the delegates who actually participated in this poll still remaining undecided, also in the runoff survey.
And many are beginning to draw the possibilities and scenarios. How many do we have so far, and what are the likely impact?
So we are looking at the trend actually from June, when this poll actually started, to what we have October 11. And if you see Dr. Bawumia, his fortunes actually dwindles by a significant portion. We are looking at from September 5th, he was around 48.8%. That was his popularity gauge. Fast forward 10 days later, September 10th, he drops from that 48.8% to 44.9%. And the current survey, which is October 11th, 43.5%. Kennedy Japan, on the other hand, September 5th, he was at 21.2%, dropped slightly, in fact, significantly to 18.4%, and improved significantly from that 18.4% on September 10 to now 23.5%. So the gap keeps closing.
Isaac, stay with me. Joining us now is Musa Dankwa, who is the Executive Director of Global Info Analytics, in studio with me. And, of course, we're just learning of the figures as they come through right now through your report. Thank you, sir, for joining us here on Top Story. Let's talk about the popularity of the distribution of the candidates at the regional level. What's your polling revealing to us now?
It's quite interesting if you look at the regional breakdown of the polls. Dr. Bawumia is doing extremely well in the northern part of the country. It's averaging around 74%. Kennedy on 10%. Now, when you come to the south, Kennedy is leading in Ashanti region right now, 39% to 33%. He's leading by huge margin in the central region, 59% to 22%, I think. And then in Eastern region, Bawumia is doing very well, 49% to Kennedy's 15%. In OT, it's a dead hit in OT. And in voter region, Bawumia is also leading in voter region. In central western region, it's a tie in central region. So you could see that the race quite differ from the swing regions, from the voter in OT block and northern sector. And I think the overall effect of what we are seeing is that Kennedy's poor performance in the northern sector is what has kind of led him to being that low in the race. But it is very important to note that the huge number of people who said they won't disclose to us, they are anti-establishment, 14%. They were like that when Alan was in the race, and when Alan withdrew, the number wobbled a bit, but it still remained high. And we believe that they will break heavily towards Kennedy.
Interesting revelations you're putting up there, and that's why we're also paying attention to the fortunes of the vice president. His popularity appears to be dropping significantly. What's influencing that? I mean, looking at the fact that a significant population and now the disgruntled members of the party, and what's likely to be the impact on his popularity going into the polling itself? Because in politics, even a day is worth looking at and looking at how fast the figures could change. Could anything change for the vice president?
If you look at how he performed post the superdelegate, he went up quite significantly. That was the bump he got from the superdelegate polls. And then when Alan withdrew, rather than seeing him going up in the poll, he rather lost some grounds when Alan withdrew. And a lot of the people who were backing Alan had gone into the undecided, and then I will not disclose. But if you look at the trend over the period, he appears to be on downward slope. And you need to stop that downward slope before the elections. If by next week he is falling below 40%, then he could be in trouble.
Which means that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia would have to do a lot more in securing that 50+1, which he crucially needs to be in a comfortable lead to lead the New Patriotic Party going into the 2024 presidential elections. Undecided population appears to be higher in terms of the demographics that we're looking at this moment. Is the reason for which we're getting more reactions to this. I want to bring in Sami Oko's campaign spokesman for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia joining the conversation. Dr. Prince Amuzo is campaign spokesperson for the Free Koto camp. George Ado-Entry is campaign spokesman for Adaimo. All three going into the contest on the lines now. Sami Oku, thank you for joining us on Top Story. And I'm just wondering what your candidate might be thinking now, and you as the strategist for Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia deploying in the very final lap going into the presidential race of the NPP. First off, are you surprised about the outcome? The fact that all your contenders appear to be inching up closer and closer to your candidate. What does it suggest to you?
Evening to your cherished listeners. I'm not too sure which group of people that this global info analytics interviews. But let me first of all draw you back a bit. Global info analytics ahead of the August 26th elections. If you can have Musa back on the line, you can ask him what was his prediction for the vice president.
Well, he's right here. He's right here with us.
No, Musa. So if Musa, I just want us, you cannot just come see things and just leave. Can you tell us what their prediction was ahead of August 26th, respectfully? They predicted the vice president was getting less than 50%.
Yeah. Musa, you want to come through? Just make the point for us.
Him because I have everything properly analyzed.
Any polls on the superdelegate.
Sami, you might want to hold on just to listen briefly to that response.
Please, we did not conduct any poll of superdelegate. We did not. We conducted a poll among Ghanaians, and also among NPP delegates before the super delegate. And you can't compare the polling station executive polls to super delegate polls. So those are two different things.
Sammy?
So it's Musa saying that they didn't come up with any polling ahead of August 26th. Is that what he's saying? Which was in the public domain, which was published by them. They predicted the vice president was not going to get anything below 50%.
I still want to correct him.
Let me even go into the substantive matter.
Okay.
We do not believe for a second that the candidate's popularity is going down. And Evans, any polls that predict the vice president will get less than 75% on the 4th of November, trust me, it's not an incredible poll. You can mark it on the line. And a week from now, we will have this interview. Because we've done our homework well. We have campaigned across the country. The candidate's message of unity, the candidate's message of bringing the party people together, keeping an eye on the ball, and ensuring that the NPP retains power in 2024 is still real and kicking. The man's popularity place from place is at an all-time high. If you tell me that after the Honorable Alan Martin pulled out from the race and went independent, instead of the vice president's popularity surging, it's gone down. That even by simple analysis cannot even be weighed properly. Why do I say that? You've had key members of the Honorable Alan Martin's campaign team openly defecting. Well, let me even use a better word, openly declaring their support for the vice president. And then again, also their preparedness and willingness to even get to the ground to even campaign. If this does not add any votes at all, even the people you have heard them speak and heard them campaign, who were hitherto supporting the Honorable Alan Martin, should be adding votes and not decreasing. Again, let me also set the record straight.
But Sammy, if you make that point, apologies for coming through at this point, but if you make that point, you would not be entirely correct, given the fact that the research points that these groups of people remain undecided. A significant population, 18 plus percentage points is what the research is pointing to.
We do not believe that. We clearly believe that, and I can tell you, with the work we have done on the ground, with the research we have done, with the polling we have done, and mind you, this is a man of figures, a man of data, and a man of analysis. We entered into this race clearly knowing our red, our yellow, and our green. As we speak today, I can tell you that we are working towards a 75-80% win on November 4th. And Evans, I'll be surprised to see the vice president get anything below 75%. That I can tell you.
Well, blessed here, by the way. And just to point out the issue about your closest contender, Mr. Kennedy Ohene-Ejapong, he seems to be sweeping in deep into the Ashanti regional votes. And cumulatively, you're looking at a projection of 23.5% per this, polls that we're doing before the elections. Are you not worried that you're likely to have a leading figure of the NPP who does not have his base strongly entrenched in the Ashanti region? That's disastrous for many who know the NPP so well.
What was the figure chalked by Dr. Bawumia on the 26th of August? It was in excess of 80%. So how deep can it get at the heart of Ashanti, at the heart of our party? A candidate who doesn't hail from the south, doesn't hail from the middle belt, and of northern extraction, wins all the 16 regions of our delegates at the super delegate level. And I can tell you that we are also poised and working so hard, but we have set a target for ourselves. I don't know the target that Global Info Analytics, they have set for themselves. But for us, as a team and as a campaign machinery, we are working towards a 75 to 80% with some margin of error. But I can tell you, any polling that for me puts Dr. Bawumia below 75%, I will not treat that poll seriously, really.
You say once more, and Sammy, you say once more that this is based on?
I said based on our own polling, our own analysis. And we don't just do analysis. Dr. Bawumia himself is a very different and an analytical person, a man with data and a man of data. So we won't just throw out things when we are not too sure about it. But I can tell you, we are working so hard. We are winning on November 4th. We are not going for a small margin victory. We are cruising to an overwhelming victory. And we have worked so hard, and we believe the delegates of our party, they've listened to the man's message, they watched the man's demeanor, his loyalty to the party, his sacrifices to the party. The man has supported his boss through thick and thin, and at no point in time did he throw his boss under the bus. His party, right or wrong, he stood by the tradition. When it mattered most, he elected himself to represent all of us. For 8 months, he was grilled by the NDC's ruthless legal machinery, and he still came out with his integrity, composure and everything intact. So I believe we know the message you have sold to our party delegate on the basis of loyalty, sacrifice, love, and vision. He comes to the table with his own vision, sets of ideas for the party. And I can tell you that we are working towards a 75-80% victory.
I see quite an ambitious task there, but I mean, you'd have to hold on for us.
People who have dedicated themselves to work towards this ambitious task.
See, you'd have to.
This is a team, no sleep.
Just hold on for us briefly, because there are so many more individuals joining the conversation.
That's
Dr. Prince Moses, campaign spokesperson for the Free Kuto campaign. George Adu Entry also speaks for a Dynamo. And just before I bring them in, per the breakdown of the analysis that we're doing in partnership with Global Info Analytics, the regional breakdown of the figures is giving an inkling that Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia would have to at some point lean on the support base of either of these candidates to sail through to the next stage of becoming the eventual winner. Of course, Sami disputes that, but let's look at the regional breakdown before I bring in Musa Dankwa, and then we hear from the others.
We are looking at the regional breakdown of the delegates who remain and who have decided not to disclose their position and remain undecided. The Greater Accra region is leading with the undecided side 35%, and about 27% fail to disclose where they stand. Ashanti region comes second with 21% undecided and 7%
and if you look at Kennedy Japan's average, he's inching over 20% of the projections going to him.
Absolutely. So if you look at the Eastern region comes third with that's the region with the population who decided not to disclose their votes more than those who decided who remain undecided, so 13% against 9%.
I see.
We also have the Western region 8% on both sides, Volta region 9% and 6%. So if you look at the swing region,
very interesting dynamics. It's looking very tough for the vice president to have an outright win. But Samia Oku is telling us tonight that they have worked, and Musa, that's why I want to hear from you. They've worked extremely hard to secure over 70% of the votes. I've been trying to do, spread across the undecided votes plus the undisclosed votes across for each candidate. If you do 7 plus 8% on the average for each of them, the vice president would still need some support from all of the candidates, correct?
Well, yeah, I think so. But if you're looking around 9%, then it means you cross that 50% plus one.
And Musa, that's where many say you can't have all of the undisclosed and the undecided class of people all saying none of them would support the vice president. At least we'll sail through with some 8% for the vice president then to become winner.
Yes, if you look at what we've done, we've looked at those who are saying they won't disclose to us and did some modeling to see how likely they would vote, knowing what we know about them. And for those who said undecided, how they're likely going to vote.
Yes.
Now we have two scenarios. In the most optimistic scenario that we have, vice president could win with 65% as the most optimistic model that we have,
and not the 70% projection yet.
No. And then in the most realistic scenario, assuming that those 14% who said they won't tell us, they are anti-establishment, then he could win with about 58% of the vote.
And this is what I'm also looking at just before I hear from the other spokespersons, because we don't seem to be talking about them. They seem to be the underdogs, but their percentage is quite influential. If we have, worst case scenario, a Dynamo and Dr. Akutuefri joining forces with Kennedy Ohene Japan on the day of the elections, What's that likely to be?
It's unlikely to have major impact because at the moment their numbers are below 1% from the poll.
I see.
Now, unless a third candidate does well, that's when they will pull down the two leading frontrunners to below 50%.
Yeah.
Once they're not doing that, the race will be a one-touch for anyone who is going to win.
Okay, let me hear from Prince, Dr. Prince Amuzu. He speaks for Dr. Kutefri. Grateful for your time here in Top Story. And Sami, I'll come back to you. But Dr. Amuzu, the point about your candidate and how insignificant increasingly they are becoming going into the very final lap of the NPP presidential race. You feel that you can still make some strides, change something, pull out some magic wand before the elections?
We are grateful for the opportunity to be part of this conversation. Grateful for your viewers as well. We hold the view that this polls and pollsters are people, and we're not going to encourage them. They are doing their best, except to say that many of the players will put it to the first five. But here we are in the first five, and they are not considering the nature of people and the demographics that people are going to vote in this election. But 200,000 people voted, and you are talking about a poll of less than 5,000, and you are saying all the things you are saying, which is okay. We are not worried at all. We will encourage them, hope that they do better as they come by. The Dr. Kutefri campaign is based on agriculture, and clearly, and if you check the statistics, many of the people in the rural areas, polling stations, are directly into agriculture. That is why he's selling very. I also want to draw your attention that when we talk about the people who say they are not willing to disclose, it's because of the fear of the many calls that are coming through to them, people telling them that if they don't vote for a particular person, they will lose their position in the party, all that type of thing. So people are saying, like we say in that language, it means to say that we are not going to say it. On the day they will show you who will vote for. So we are very confident that many people will despise us, they think we'll not make it, but we'll put a big surprise for Ghanaians. And the NPP party will stand tall because indeed the campaign message of Dr. Kutefri is what is resonating with the people across the
okay. And I see that you're drawing in his experience, having served as the Agric Minister. Some say that will be put to a test again in this primaries. But I also want to hear from George Adoenchi, who speaks for the Adainimo campaign. George, you're being classified as insignificant going into the race.
Hello, Blessing.
Hi, George.
Yes, great. My name is George Obing-Anchi. George Obing-Anchi, not Ado-Anchi, just for
apologies for that.
Yeah,
but it's a good time to be talking to you. Your candidate, I believe, is a bit about the elections. What's your own projection?
Right. In the first place, let me say this. Before we had the special college election, all the polls that came didn't give Honorable Adainimo any chance. None of them, including the one who just did this one. None of them gave him any chance. But what do we have today? Today, he is part of the first four. All right? So we cannot go by the poll that this man has made. We do not know who he interviewed. We're not too sure exactly what the questions are. I've not seen it, to be honest. I'm driving. I've not seen it. But let me
ask you, let me be very frank with you, a direct question.
Yes.
Giving the set of candidates you have going into the elections, would you place your bet on your own candidate? Are you sure? I mean, you're an experienced guy in the political space.
Listen, we are very certain that Honorable Adainimo will be victorious and will be the presidential candidate for the New Patriotic Party for the next general election. That we are certain. I tell you what, everyone is tired. Everyone is tired about what is happening now. People want to see new face, a new face that has a strong charisma, a new face with integrity, a new face with nobility and dignity. That is what people want to see lead the country. And the party people are very much aware. They do not want to see the party slip into opposition. And they are very much aware that as it is today, the only person in this party who can lead the party into victory in next general election is Honorable Engineer Adainimo. And so, if everybody wants to see the party win, why would they not vote for him? We are very confident that the party people will make a good choice in Honorable Adainimo.
I see, and we here at the election headquarters will bring you a 360-degree coverage of that primaries. It's the reason for which the likes of Musa are partnering us on this journey as we do a prelude to the exercise. And quite an instructive point Dr. Prince Amuzu is raising there. Musa, let's deal with that before I wrap up with all of them. The point about extend...
Go to the other two. We believe that most will go to Kennedy. But in terms of who we actually interviewed, we interviewed polling station executives across all the 275 constituencies randomly. We don't profile anyone. So I think it's properly done, scientific. And I think the elections next week...
Yeah, really quickly. The point about external factors, incumbency?
Incumbency, yes. But look... The numbers Bawumia is racking up in the north would compensate him for the tightness of the race in the south, and that will put him over the top.
And that's Musa Dankwa joining us from Global Info Analytics, the executive director, with the latest figures. Sami, we need to go very quickly. The point about undue influence and looking forward into the race.
Ahead of the August 26th, Musa predicted a 36% win for Dr. Bawumia. 33% for Canadian Japan.
Samuel Okuda is a lie.
And 24% for
Samuel Okuda is a lie.
Canadian Japan. Again, ahead of November 4th, the same Global Info Analytics predicted a 39% win for Canadian Japan and 38% for Dr. Bawumia in swing regions. So look, I mean, the whole research has been muddled in confusion, but I can tell you that the best poll is going to come out next week Saturday. And any polling below 75% for Dr. Bawumia is not good. Thank you.
Okay, you seem to be confident about that. We're grateful. Sami Oku, campaign spokesperson for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Prince Amuzu, Doc, you wish to make some concluding remarks on this?
Yes, I need to make the point, and it definitely, many people cannot avail their minds to that. You see, if you have a system where the entire executive structures of the party, from regional to constituency, DCs, have been matched up to campaign for a candidate, what do you expect? There's a lot of fear in the system. People are not willing to tell you who they will vote for. I believe that 4th November will prove us right. Dr. Usu Afriya-Koto is the most popular among the ordinary people in the rural area. And that one will leave it to the polls.
Indeed.
The day of the election itself, not the pollsters. But I want to continue to encourage pollsters and the people who do the polls to continue. We need them. And it will give us good ideas and interpretation, analysis, and all that. All of that is part of politics.
Okay, Dr. Prince.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, Dr. Prince Amuzu is campaign spokesperson for Dr. Afriya-Koto, and also grateful to George with the Adainimo campaign for joining us. And that's it for Top Story. Next is News Now.